July, the Ottoman Third Army stands on the heights overlooking Baku. The city is defended by an odd combination of Russian, Armenian, and Muslim forces. The Turks attack several times without success, and then about 2,000 British troops arrive in the city, commanded by General L.C. Dunsterville. London is also concerned about the Turkish advance. They would like to add the oil in Baku to their post-war gains and are willing to fight for it. But the enemy has at least 10 times the number of troops that Dunsterville has cobbled together. Soon, his multinational command begins to fall apart, just as the Turks renew their attack in the middle of September. This time, unlike Gallipoli, the British know when to quit. Dunsterville withdraws his troops into Royal Navy transports that have been waiting at the dock on the Caspian Sea. The British effort to take Baku is short-lived, and after Turkish artillery bombards the remaining defenders, the city falls to Enver's army on September 15, 1918. Without the Russian army to stop them, the Turkish campaign in the Caucasus is a great success. Encouraged by his string of victories, Enver goes on with his plans to unite all the Muslim people in Turkey, Iran, and Central Asia. He now calls his soldiers the Army of Islam, and he leads them farther and farther away from where they are really needed, in Palestine, where the British are scoring their own string of victories. But Enver is caught up in his dream and leads his men forward on a mission that can never be accomplished. 4 years later, the dream ends. With his Army of Islam reduced to a handful of followers, Enver is surrounded by Soviet troops in far-off Turkmenistan and killed on August 4, 1922. In Iraq, things remain fairly quiet after General Maud captures Baghdad in the spring of 1917. Now, a year and a half later, General William Marshall commands the theater when the War Office suddenly orders him to advance northward. London has concluded that the Ottoman Empire is in its death throes and wants to make certain that the large oil reserves around the city of Mosul are in British hands, despite the fact that French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau has been promised the region for France. On October 2, 1918, Marshall receives his orders: occupy as much of the oil-bearing lands as possible. In a series of attacks, Marshall's troops drive back the enemy along the Tigris River. But the Turks haven't much fight left in them. The Turkish commander is aware that Sultan Mehmed VI is engaged in peace talks with the Allies. He knows the end is near and surrenders his force of 11,000 men on October 30th. The next day, an armistice takes effect and the Ottoman Empire is no longer at war. In violation of that armistice, British troops rush to Mosul and occupy it on November 1st. Great Britain now controls the oil in Iraq. On the Palestine front, Allenby's army and Prince Faisal's men drive into Syria, and Damascus falls on October 1st, 1918. Moving farther north, the British take the city of Aleppo, and the Great Campaign is over, 500 miles from where it started in September. Throughout the fight, the humble heroes of British victory have been the thousands of camels used to carry supplies, and the camel drivers.
You know, the camel, in some respects, saved the British Army. You know, they assembled the largest camel force history has ever known. And of course, it took tens of thousands of camel drivers. But, you know, camels carried the water. They also carried the wounded. Camels could move on sand. And I think the unsung heroes in many respects of the British Army were these camel drivers. They sometimes were recruited by